Y&R Spoilers Weekly Update, Ashley's Homecoming, Nick's Clue, Thanksgiving Reunions. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is enjoying their day. Please subscribe and like the video before continuing. Genoa City is preparing for a week packed with emotional returns, shocking discoveries, intense confrontations, and long-awaited reunions as Thanksgiving approaches, but the centerpiece of all the chaos is Ashley Abbott's dramatic homecoming and the ripple effects her sudden return sends through the Abbott family and beyond. Ashley's absence has been felt deeply, especially as her struggle with mental instability and Tucker's manipulative moves push the family to their limits. Now, her return promises answers, healing, and potential upheaval, depending on what truths she brings back with her. Meanwhile, Nick Newman quietly follows a trail of clues that may expose a hidden threat lurking behind the walls of Newman Enterprises, and the entire Newman family feels the shift as he uncovers the first signs of a conspiracy even he doesn't yet fully understand. Add to this the emotional tension that always comes with the holiday season, and you have a week where every character faces choices that could redefine their relationships and their futures. Ashley's homecoming happens earlier in the week, surprising family members who weren't expecting her so soon. Jack is the first to see her, and the surge of relief on his face is unmistakable. He has carried fear, guilt, and responsibility on his shoulders for months, and seeing his sister standing in front of him, calm, composed, and seemingly grounded, feels like a lifeline. But Ashley's demeanor is more complex than it appears. There is a stillness in her eyes, a depth that suggests she has learned something profound during her time away. Whether it is healing, closure, or a revelation she is still processing, no one can tell. Tracy arrives next and embraces her sister with a mixture of joy and apprehension, sensing the emotional weight Ashley carries. Abby is close behind, overwhelmed with relief but also concerned about what this return means for the delicate state of her mother's well-being. Ashley insists she is ready to reintegrate into daily life, but subtle hints suggest she isn't revealing everything. She hesitates before responding to certain questions. She avoids discussing key details about her therapy. And when Tucker's name comes up, her entire posture shifts. She is composed, but her silence speaks volumes. She carries information, dangerous information perhaps, but she is not yet willing to share it. Jack, protective as always, tries not to push, but his instincts tell him that Ashley's homecoming is only the beginning of something larger. There is a secret she has not yet voiced, and it will eventually emerge. Meanwhile, Tucker senses her return almost immediately, though no one calls to inform him. He feels it, like a pressure in the air. He begins circling the fringes of the Abbott world, trying to determine what she knows and whether her time away has strengthened her or made her more vulnerable. Audra watches him closely, torn between her loyalty to Tucker and her frustration with his obsession with Ashley. Their dynamic grows tense as she realizes Tucker's emotional fixation might unravel their partnership and threaten their carefully calibrated business moves. As Ashley processes her return and attempts to rebuild her foundation, the Newmans are dealing with a storm brewing beneath the surface, one that only Nick sees the outline of. Nick has been keeping his concerns quiet, wanting to protect his family from unnecessary alarm, but the strange financial inconsistencies he discovered last week continue to gnaw at him. A number appears out of place. A document route doesn't match the encryption pattern used by Newman accountants. And a phantom subsidiary long dissolved suddenly shows signs of life. Nick tries to convince himself he might be overthinking, but the clues mount too quickly to ignore. Victoria senses something is off with her brother. At first she assumes it's personal stress, perhaps something involving Sharon or the kids, but she quickly realizes Nick is watching everything around him more intently than usual. He hesitates before answering questions, pauses mid-conversation as though turning information over in his mind, and spends more time than necessary double-checking reports. Victoria tries to probe, but Nick sidesteps her inquiries, not ready to share what he has found. He wants to be certain before he drags the family into another crisis, especially one involving corporate security. The turning point arrives when Nick receives an alert late one evening from a Newman server flagging an unusual login attempt from an internal clearance level that shouldn't be in use. The timestamp lines up with a moment when nearly the entire family was out of the building attending a gathering. That means someone with inside knowledge is accessing confidential files. And Nick realizes this isn't some small oversight, it is the beginning of something calculated. Someone is watching, infiltrating, and taking advantage of Newman's blind spots. His clue becomes the thread that could unravel the entire conspiracy. He begins tracking the access trail through secure logs, staying late into the night, determined to find the identity of the infiltrator before they strike again. At the same time, tensions rise in the Newman family as Thanksgiving approaches. The holiday always brings emotional weight, unresolved conflicts, and unexpected reunions, and this year is no exception. Nikki is already struggling under the pressure of dealing with Jordan's trauma, Victor's concerns about her emotional state, and her own complex relationship with alcohol. But she is desperate to hold her family together for the holiday, determined to create a moment of peace even if everything around her feels fragile. The cracks in her composure show whenever she's alone, and Victor watches her carefully, trying to support her without pushing too hard. Victor is far more focused on internal threats than the holiday, though. He senses shifts in the company, unspoken tension within the family, and a storm building around Newman Enterprises. When he notices Nick's subtle stress, he begins quietly gathering his own information. Victor is no stranger to corporate warfare, and he knows the signs of infiltration all too well. Even without specifics from Nick, he feels danger on the horizon. Thanksgiving also brings emotional reunions across town. Abby and Devin prepare to blend their families for the holiday, and though they are excited, they both feel the pressure of balancing the expectations of the Abbotts, the Newmans, and the Chancellor Winters clan. Chance faces his own set of complications as his growing connection with Summer becomes harder to hide. Summer feels conflicted, torn between moving forward and worrying about judgment from her family. The Thanksgiving festivities may force them into situations that expose their feelings more openly than either is ready for. Elsewhere, Sharon and Mariah begin planning a warm, home-centered celebration with Aria, but Sharon can sense something weighing heavily on Nick's mind. When he stops by Crimson Lights late at night, appearing distracted and restless, her concerns intensify. She gently asks him if he's okay, but Nick refuses to burden her, insisting everything is under control. Sharon isn't convinced, but she also knows Nick well enough to understand he will open up when he's ready. Still, she can't help but feel the tension gather like a storm cloud. The Abbott Thanksgiving is also shaping up to be complicated. With Ashley home, the family is relieved, but they tread lightly around her, unsure of her emotional stability. Diane senses an opportunity to further prove her loyalty to the Abbotts by offering support and stability, but her presence continues to irritate Ashley, whose distrust may resurface regardless of her recovery. Kyle, stuck between concerns about his mother-in-law's return and his own complicated feelings regarding Audra, tries to remain focused on creating a peaceful holiday for Harrison, but he can't avoid the undercurrents of tension. Ashley's return brings one more surprising twist. While going through her belongings, she finds a note tucked away inside a folder she carried with her during her time away. The note is cryptic, referencing a moment she can't entirely recall and hinting at a detail she may have overlooked in her fragmented memories. This discovery unsettles her. She starts questioning whether she has fully regained control of her mind or whether someone manipulated her during her vulnerable period. The note could be a clue, a warning, or a misdirection, and Ashley's anxiety grows as she attempts to piece together what it means. She decides to keep the note secret for now, aware that revealing it too soon could cause the family to doubt her stability again. Meanwhile, Nick gathers enough data to confirm his fear. The internal login attempt is connected to someone who knows the security system well enough to cloak their footprint. This isn't a simple employee trying to access restricted files. This is someone with deep knowledge of how Newman's firewalls, clearance levels, and encrypted files work. The realization makes him suspect that this threat might be personal, someone with a grudge, someone with history, someone who understands the Newman Empire intimately. As Thanksgiving arrives, the families gather, attempting warmth and connection despite unresolved tensions. The Newmans share a polished but fragile meal. Nikki maintains her composure but battles internal demons. Victoria keeps her distance emotionally, torn between leadership responsibilities and personal exhaustion. Adam hovers in the gray area between belonging and isolation, unsure where he fits. Nick keeps a protective eye on everyone, silently carrying the weight of the clue he uncovered. Across town, the Abbotts share a more emotionally charged, intimate gathering. Ashley tries to enjoy the moment, but the note haunts her. Jack watches her carefully, sensing something she is not saying. Diane works to maintain stability. Kyle and Billy clash briefly before Tracy intervenes with compassion and diplomacy. Amid the holiday warmth, Ashley's silence grows louder. The week ends on a cliffhanger when Nick receives another anonymous message late at night, this one containing a file attachment with a coded message. When he deciphers the first part, his breath catches. The message includes a reference to someone inside the family. Someone the infiltrator has targeted. Someone they intend to use. Nick realizes his clue has unlocked a much larger operation than he imagined. And as the truth comes into focus, he is forced to confront a horrifying possibility: the danger is already inside Newman Enterprises, hidden where they least expect it. Nick Newman's clue is becoming the centerpiece of a growing storm on the young and the restless, and the closer he gets to the truth, the more dangerous the situation becomes for everyone tangled in the expanding web of secrets. What began as a quiet moment of intuition is exploding into a storyline that could shift alliances, expose hidden motives, and put several key Genoa City players on edge. Nick has always possessed that unique Newman edge, a mix of instinct, gut sense, and years spent navigating the chaos created by his own family's empire, but this time something feels different. Something feels bigger, deeper, and more personal. And as he follows the thread that recently landed in his lap, he realizes that what he initially brushed off as coincidence may be the key to uncovering a plot already in motion behind the scenes. The clue began with an offhand remark he overheard, something that didn't fit, something that contradicted details he had been told before. Nick tried to ignore it, but the uneasiness lingered, intensifying when other inconsistencies started popping up around him. He knows these patterns well. When small lies begin linking together, they often point to a hidden agenda. And now Nick is determined to get ahead of it. What he doesn't realize is how many people his discovery will threaten. As Nick digs deeper, old rivalries reignite, past betrayals resurface, and surprising connections emerge between characters who shouldn't have any reason to cross paths. The further he investigates, the more it becomes clear that this clue didn't fall into his hands by accident. Someone wanted him to find it, or someone overlooked a critical mistake that Nick now plans to expose. The tension builds when he confides in Sharon, who senses the gravity of what he's found but warns him that rushing into confrontation could put him in the crosshairs of someone much more calculating than he expects. Sharon's concern grows as Nick becomes increasingly consumed by the puzzle. She has seen him like this before, and it usually means he's about to put himself directly in danger. Meanwhile, Victoria catches wind of Nick's obsession and instantly fears that this new discovery could affect Newman Enterprises. She presses him for details, but Nick hesitates. He wants the truth, not another corporate war with his sister. Still, Victoria can feel that what Nick is chasing may lead to a massive shift at Newman, especially if the clue ties back to decisions made under Victor's tight grip. Victor, of course, knows something is brewing. He's always the first to sense disruption within his family, and Nick's sudden fixation sets off alarms for him. Victor confronts his son, attempting to steer him away from the investigation, but Nick refuses to be intimidated. The dynamic between father and son intensifies as Nick's determination collides with Victor's refusal to let any threat, internal or external, gain leverage over the Newman Empire. Elsewhere, Phyllis becomes entangled in the situation when she notices changes in Nick's behavior. She knows him perhaps better than anyone, and she recognizes the signs of a mystery pulling him in. Phyllis being Phyllis, she can't help but get curious, and her instinct to dig leads her straight into the path of information that could either help Nick or blow everything wide open. The problem is that Phyllis's presence in any sensitive situation tends to escalate matters quickly, and this time is no different. Her involvement raises the stakes, particularly for people who have worked hard to keep certain truths buried. As Nick continues to follow the breadcrumb trail, new scenes unfold across Genoa City. A mysterious conversation caught at society. A document hidden where it shouldn't be. A name mentioned by someone who shouldn't know it. Each detail intensifies the suspense, and each new realization pushes Nick closer to a revelation that could alter relationships, business alliances, and long-standing grudges. The tension peaks when Nick finally connects the dots and realizes the clue ties back to someone he never suspected, someone who has been operating in the shadows with a plan that could undermine everything the Newmans have built. Nick's shock is immediate and powerful. The betrayal runs deeper than he imagined, and the implications are far-reaching. But even as the truth begins to crystallize, Nick knows he's not safe. The moment he gets too close to the secret, strange things start happening. A warning he wasn't meant to hear. A threat disguised as a friendly suggestion. A message delivered with cold precision. Sharon becomes worried that Nick is being watched. Victoria senses that someone is preparing to strike first. And Victor realizes this may become the type of battle the family hasn't faced in years. More emotional intensity unfolds as Nick grapples with what to do next. Does he confront the person responsible? Does he gather more evidence before anyone can shut him down? Or does he turn to his family, even knowing that sharing the truth may cause a Newman civil war? As the storyline continues building, characters from all corners of Genoa City begin feeling the ripple effects. The Abbott family becomes unintentionally pulled into the fallout when information linked to the clue overlaps with a separate issue Jack has been struggling to contain. Meanwhile, Audra senses an opportunity to use Nick's distraction to her advantage, while Nate becomes suspicious of Victoria's sudden unease. Even Adam, always lurking between redemption and chaos, grows curious about the shift in Nick's demeanor. And once Adam gets curious, things never remain calm for long. The arc takes a deeper emotional turn when Nick reflects on past mistakes, past warnings, and past chances he ignored. This time, from the moment he uncovered the clue, he vowed not to repeat history. He will not allow lies, manipulation, or power games to poison the people he cares about. The more he uncovers, the more determined he becomes to bring the truth into the open, regardless of the cost. The culmination of Nick's journey promises explosive confrontations, emotional fallout, and dramatic repercussions rippling through every corner of Genoa City. The clue itself, once fully revealed, will tie together unexpected storylines and force several characters to face truths they desperately tried to hide. Nick's decision in the aftermath, whether to expose it publicly, handle it quietly, or use it against the person responsible, will shape upcoming episodes and alter the trajectory of his relationships for months to come. Secrets are coming undone. Alliances will shift. And Nick Newman, armed with a clue that was never meant to surface, is about to ignite one of the most intense chapters the show has seen in a long time. Ashley Abbott's homecoming is about to shake Genoa City in ways no one sees coming, setting the stage for emotional confrontations, shocking revelations, and a return storyline filled with suspense, heartache, and high-stakes family drama. Whenever Ashley comes home, it is never simple, never quiet, and never without impact. But this time feels different. This time, she returns carrying more weight, more secrets, and more determination than ever before. Her arrival marks the beginning of a storyline that promises to unravel complicated history, revive deeply buried wounds, and force key characters to confront truths they have avoided for far too long. The moment Ashley steps foot back into town, the air shifts. Whispers travel quickly. Eyes turn. Questions ignite. Why is she back now? What prompted her sudden return? And what is she hiding beneath the composed elegance she always maintains? Ashley has always been the poised, brilliant chemist with a heart divided between loyalty and self-protection, but her homecomings are rarely casual visits. The last chapter of her life was marked by mental strain, fractured trust, and difficult battles that nearly destroyed her. Now the question becomes whether she is returning healed, repairing, or on the verge of another storm. Jack is the first to react, stunned and emotional at the sight of his sister returning unexpectedly. Their bond has been tested countless times, but deep inside, they remain the core of the Abbott legacy. Jack senses immediately that something is off, despite Ashley's calm front. She tries to reassure him, but the tightness behind her smile tells him that her troubles did not stay abroad, they followed her home. Tracy, always the heart of the family, is overcome with excitement but soon feels the tension draining from Ashley's voice. She studies her sister gently, sensing hidden pain that Ashley isn't ready to share. Tracy knows better than anyone that Ashley tends to carry burdens silently until they reach a breaking point. She vows to stay close, ready to support her no matter what surfaces in the days ahead. But the Abbott family isn't the only group shaken by Ashley's homecoming. Her return instantly puts Tucker McCall on edge. Tucker thought he had more time to rebuild, manipulate, or reinvent himself without Ashley's presence complicating his plans. Her sudden return forces him to confront unresolved emotions and unfinished business that he hoped to handle on his own timeline. Tucker's reaction oscillates between longing, frustration, and fear that Ashley's presence could expose secrets he's been desperately trying to bury. When Ashley and Tucker finally cross paths again, the tension is explosive. Their complicated relationship, once filled with passion, betrayal, brilliance, and devastation, roars back to life the moment they lock eyes. Neither one planned for this moment, but the impact is immediate. Ashley is guarded, but Tucker can't hide his shock. He attempts charm, apology, explanation, yet Ashley stays unreadable, refusing to reveal whether she's seeking closure, revenge, or something far deeper. Meanwhile, the business world of Genoa City braces itself for the potential ripple effects of her return. Jabot has been operating under intense pressure, with power struggles simmering beneath the surface. Ashley's reappearance could shift the balance instantly. Kyle, already navigating a fragile position within the company, grows anxious about how Ashley's presence might affect his influence. Diane watches carefully, knowing that Ashley does not trust her and could easily become a formidable force against her growing involvement in the Abbott family legacy. Billy senses opportunity but also risk, wondering whether Ashley plans to reclaim her seat at the table or expose fractures that certain people prefer to keep hidden. What complicates everything is the fact that Ashley may not even know what she wants yet. Her internal world is in turmoil. She returns with memories she cannot shake, fractured pieces of the emotional breakdown she endured, and lingering doubts about what reality looked like in the aftermath. The truth is that Ashley is struggling more than she lets on, and the psychological shadows from her past threaten to resurface the moment she confronts the people and places tied to her trauma. She tries to hide the vulnerability beneath her strength, but cracks appear when she's alone, glimpses of fear, confusion, and unresolved pain she refuses to acknowledge in public. As days unfold, hints of a deeper reason for her homecoming emerge. Something happened before she returned. Something significant. Something she's trying to understand or escape. A message. A threat. A memory that doesn't match what she was told. This secret sits heavily on her, and it's clear she's battling between protecting herself and protecting the people she loves. Jack begins quietly investigating, determined to uncover what Ashley won't tell him. He doesn't want to push her into retreat, but he also cannot stand by if something or someone is hurting his sister. Jack's protective instincts rise, setting him on a collision course with Tucker, who becomes increasingly defensive as he senses Jack watching him closely. Their rivalry reignites, fierce and personal, fueled by years of resentment, business clashes, and jealousy over Ashley's heart. Meanwhile, Abby becomes deeply affected by her mother's return. She's relieved to have Ashley home, but she can tell something is terribly wrong. Abby becomes torn between respecting her mother's boundaries and fearing that Ashley is slipping into dangerous emotional territory again. Her own connection to Tucker complicates things further, stirring emotional conflict and bringing back old wounds Abby thought she'd healed from long ago. Even Devin feels the effects of Ashley's return, as Tucker's anxiety pushes him to make impulsive moves, forcing Devin to question his father's motives yet again. The dynamic within their family becomes tense, unstable, and unpredictable as Ashley's presence brings long-dormant issues back to the surface. Throughout the storyline, Ashley's internal struggle deepens. Flashbacks begin haunting her, blurred images, altered conversations, moments she remembers differently than the people around her claim. She starts doubting herself again, fearing that her mind might be betraying her or that someone intentionally manipulated her reality. The psychological tension ramps up dramatically, setting the stage for a mystery tied closely to her breakdown. Slowly, the truth begins to crack open. Ashley uncovers signs that someone interfered with her treatment, influenced her memories, or tampered with what she believed about her own experiences. This discovery shakes her to the core. If someone manipulated her, who was it? And why? Suddenly, her homecoming is no longer just emotional, it becomes investigative. She starts retracing the timeline of events leading up to her return and realizes that the answers she needs may only be found in Genoa City. As Ashley starts piecing together the puzzle, danger begins creeping closer. Someone is watching her. Someone doesn't want the truth exposed. Strange occurrences begin happening around her, a misplaced item, a message she didn't leave herself, a shadow outside her window, a clue that she isn't imagining the threat. The tension escalates as Ashley pushes forward, refusing to let fear stop her. She reaches a breaking point where her strength clashes with her vulnerability, and this emotional intensity fuels her determination to